Getting underway. 6 o'clock. Thank you all very much for coming. Do we have packets or do we can put them up top?
The packet can be up here.
Okay.
Here we go. So, first item is the main D extension. As I mentioned at the last council meeting, the low bid was Crestline Construction and they were verified, and the amount of their bid was $261,370, $307.13. And the contract package is the standard contract package that we have, the template similar to what was agreed for the equipment, as well as the language that's necessary for the Department of Ecology loan. And there were no additional changes to it. And yeah. Standard terms and conditions. I believe it's 95 days they have to complete the project, and that's 95 working days, not continual. And so again, yeah, these are the inserts for Department of Ecology. Clarifying prevailing wage. I know everyone's reading it as fast as they can. Towards the bottom, it has the bid detail, which is what I was trying to get to. This is their bid. And
But this is what you sent us, right?
yeah, this is what
Okay.
was sent. Yes,
Okay, got it.
yeah.
So
So
it's not anything new.
no, and so again, yeah, this is the bid detail. There's a slight rounding difference,
Yeah, right.
but there you go.
Okay. All right.
261.
307.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Mhm. It's on the agenda too.
Mhm.
And so with our new policy, $250,000 is the limit for Scott and I
Right.
to award it. This is 261.
Have we worked with Crestline before?
They're the ones that were awarded the project for the Rock Creek Lift Station and Cascade Interceptor.
And so how long ago was that?
They're going to start in April.
Okay.
Didn't they
So-
also do the up above when they did the?
Connecticut Creek?
I believe
Kanaka
they
Creek
might have
on
done
top.
Kanaka Creek, and I
Yeah.
believe they also did Cascade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we have worked with them before.
And we've been satisfied with them.
Yes, we have no choice. It's low bid.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah.
That's just nice to know going in.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you just need a motion.
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to award and approve the contract with Crestline Construction for the Main D Extension Project in the amount of $261,307.13.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I rolled the dice and I rolled wrong. I went with a covenant because when so again, EDA is as understaffed as you know, everyone else in this world. And so when I asked them, you know, hey, this covenant, would this work? I never received feedback, but that's what the port used with their EDA loan. Granted, it was a while ago, or with their EDA funding. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll use the covenant since that was used in the past. I chose wrong. So the mortgage, this is their standard form, same language, same exhibits as well for the contract.
Okay.
And this is also, so the motion is to approve the agreement and then rescinding the covenant. So you're not having both out there.
So how did you finally know that you rolled the dice wrong?
I gave him all the documentation.
It's
Like, oh, no. Yeah.
It's right.
Yeah, can you return this with a mortgage? Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Oh, that's so funny.
But then I got the form from them too. They were like, well, good.
All right.
Yeah. So, mhm.
All right.
Are we looking for a motion then?
We are.
Mhm.
All right, I'd like to motion to approve the agreement and mortgage with the U.S. Economic Development Administration as presented and rescind the covenant of purpose, use, and ownership approved at February 17th, 2022 council meeting.
Second. First and second, any discussion? All fair say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next part is we are getting into, we haven't had our retreat yet.
Yeah.
So it's about that time. So one of the things I want to do is look at some potential dates, but also start your creative thought process going on some different projects or priorities that we might introduce this time around. Last year, we talked a lot about how important it was to keep an eye on infrastructure. Not keeping an eye on infrastructure is what has bitten us in the derriere with the treatment plant. So it was a lot of stinging. Last year we said infrastructure is important. We need to make sure that we keep an eye on it, find ways to keep the maintenance up and not get caught ailing again. So not to say that that's not as important. No, we can continue to say that that is also still as important as it was last year. But one of the things that I wanted to suggest as a topic is housing. So
Yes.
not just lip service saying that it is something that we talk about. I want it to be something that we actually talk about. Some of the things that we've talked about is affordable with a lowercase a, because affordable is a trigger word,
Right.
but rental properties that our service industry people can not only find, but afford. So how do we help with the inventory and encourage those owners to keep the costs reasonable, but also attainable homes, so that as someone that is not in the upper middle class can afford a home and then get their chip in the game. So we have looked at programs like they don't own the land, they just get a piece of the equity when they leave. And when they do leave, they don't get to get a bidding war in their favor. It has to go, the next occupant has to be within a certain percentage of wages, that, what is it, median wage?
Medium
Median
income.
income.
Encouraging ways, finding ways to help out that, because nothing worse than feeling good about scraping together a nest egg and then be outbid within 2 hours.
Yes.
And you're never going to get ahead. That way.
Happened to me twice last year.
Yeah, and then other things is, are there creative ways for us to create, I know slush fund might not be the proper word, but to create a fund that could be used for our housing initiatives. So if you don't live in town, but you own in town, maybe there's tax. If you haven't lived here off the top of my head. If there's a way, if there's a separate tax, if you just moved here, I don't want to discourage growth, but at the same time, this new growth is making it really hard for those that need the help the most to get it.
I'm also seeing a big increase in Airbnb rentals, especially in my neighborhood, and I'm thinking that we need to crack down on that too in some way. We need to level the playing field for those owners who live outside of town and are making money here and taking away inventory for our residents.
And it's not just absentee owners either. There's lots of people that live here in town that have their Airbnb as investment opportunities.
I would say I didn't know that. I'm just aware of what I know is happening around me, and they're all out of towners. These are second homes.
Well, see, I actually had a friend who was down in LA. He came up here for a week and he rented, there was a room in someone's house. They live in the rest. They turned the back of their house into an Airbnb up in the Angel Heights area up there. And so it's not just people who don't live here. But if you live here and you start the Airbnb, you have to pay like a separate, there are some fees and some different things that you have to do, but at the same time,
Yeah, and
it's not just people who don't live here that are doing this.
right. And so long as, because there is ways to monitor that to make sure that they're paying their portion of the tax funding. But we are dealing with inventory issues on a couple of different fronts, and that's not helping.
Right. I've been wondering, is there a reason why we don't have more apartment buildings? Do we have some kind of a municipal code, or it's just not happened? There hasn't been a developer come through and say, hey, I'm gonna do this.
It might be a loose definition, but like, for example, Mackenzie has been doing a lot of multi-family residences.
Right.
That are, fourplex,
Yeah.
look nice,
Yeah.
rents are good.
Yeah.
And I know several young people that have been able to, get a couple of roommates and, right
Nice.
here on Vancouver.
Mhm.
So along those lines of the housing, we did put together a housing needs assessment because a few years ago, I said, okay, it's time to start thinking about housing, and Carrie at the EDC at the time said, housing assessment, first step. Okay, that part's done. So that's where we're at right now, and kind of stalled in planning. Stalled with the public engagement.
Yeah.
So we need to keep if we decide to make this the priority that it should be, keep the accelerator down on getting those changes made and trying to make some change, make a difference. But here's the part that's the takeaway, is that if we delay too long, it will be too late. There will be nothing to be done.
Well, and I hear this is, what's interesting is that was the ones which I was gonna bring up, because I had 3 people this week come talk to me personally, just people that I know about housing here.
Mhm.
And it is, that there isn't any. And then the developers that want to do it, but they're looking for a deal from the city to make it happen. And there's just different things that are, it's a big topic. And it's a multifaceted topic, because there's some people who don't want a bunch of multi, in their area next to where they're living. There's people who, because I remember the one meeting we had when Mackenzie was talking. I mean, we had the whole crowd speaking out against him putting in the units he was looking to put in. And so it's just,
And that'll
it's a
be,
big topic.
and that'll be another part of the discussion too, is not just inventory, but dials and levers that we have at our disposal. What kind of tools are we going to prepare ourselves to set ourselves up with? And then having the fortitude to use them, to play those cards when the time comes. So we don't have a lot of tools for encouraging type of development that Brian couldn't get done. So that needs to be fixed too. If you have the tool, use it. If you're not prepared to use the tool, come up with a different tool, or it's not a priority.
Right.
Well, I agree with that to some extent. I also believe that just because these things have been done before, which is normally the excuse, it doesn't mean that it's been right. And so we have to balance, what's the city, meaning residents of the city, gonna pay into to be able to afford something like this to come into town. So it's gotta be beneficial to the residents too. Prepaying somebody's water and sewer hookups, I'm not in favor of unless there's a benefit to the residents.
So, as we can see,
Yeah.
There's
lots to this discussion. but
Yes.
I'm kind of pushing in my 2 cents that should be one of the things that we look at our next retreat. And again, trying to get the juices flowing. What would you like to talk about? What kind of things? And then that's what will be part of the process, is we'll rate them. And you'll notice that this says right here, information parentheses after the agenda item reference, relate to our goals. So if there's an agenda item that has something directly to do with our priorities, you'll know.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up housing. I think that needs to be probably number one.
Jason's on call, I gotta go.
Oh,
So, can you shut everything down?
Yeah. So I guess it depends on are we gonna do a 4-hour or an 8-hour? I think last time we did 4 hours. Didn't we?
We
A half-day
had to-
workshop.
abbreviate it because we were new into the Zoom.
COVID.
I do like the idea of in person.
Me too. We
So
had
much-
the first one in person.
That
Or
was
was that the
great.
second one? I went to one in person, so it's
Yeah,
been
so
within 2 years.
And I also like the idea of, it's less formal and
Mhm.
can be like a team building
Yeah, exactly.
opportunity.
Yeah.
And face to
Throw some
face.
axes and,
Yeah.
no.
And then breaking bread, the whole thing, it's all part of the process. So, don't know what we can do for dates when Leanna's not here. Weekends are usually preferred.
Yeah, I think we did a Saturday morning.
You guys want to you want to take a look now, or do you want, how about if we wait for Liana and she can send out a doodle poll?
Yeah, let's do
Yeah,
that.
like
We can
That
get
sounds
her.
good.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good
but at least
idea.
put it, it's now on our minds, and so we can be
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Okay,
And are we looking at a 4 hour then?
yeah, including lunch.
Okay.
I mean, housing could take up 4 hours.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be a little longer, because I'll see if we can't get a speaker, or at least get some materials so that we have something to chew on.
Yeah.
For some thoughts.
Not like pizza?
I mean, that's
Something
two,
to chew on.
right?
That's good info.
It would be kind of nice to have somebody maybe from another small rural community who is succeeding in housing, if that even exists, I
I
don't
was
know.
gonna say who?
Yeah, this
To
area.
come and talk to us about what's worked for them, what they were willing to give as incentives, and how the community has responded to that.
Because I remember, was it, he was saying that, like, that's what other towns did, like that, if we're not gonna do, waive the hookup fee or whatever, he's like, that's what they do all the time.
Well, I
And I was
know,
like, but who are they? And
right,
how is
well,
that
it
working
does,
out?
it does happen a lot.
I'm not saying it
Yeah.
doesn't, I just don't, I don't have the examples of, like,
Yeah.
talking to somebody who's been in a city where that
I
has
feel like it
actually
would
happened.
have to be comparable to Stevenson as well. Like,
Yeah,
it can't
right.
just be some,
Right,
Yeah,
it has to be like us.
Doesn't Robert
We're special.
deal with developers quite a bit?
He sure does.
Maybe we could pick his brain.
Have him come in.
well,
Yeah.
he's also in favor of giving some pretty nice incentives to
Yes.
builders.
Yes. Because I think, if I remember the conversation, when we had talked about this months ago,
Mhm.
he was talking about the incentives and what do we need? What are we gonna present?
I think it's a start.
I think, it might be a good,
whether we agree or not, hearing what options are out there, if he does that quite a bit, at least. we get
Yeah, but he
a
does it for
perspective.
Portland and larger cities,
Mhm.
so they've got a lot more money.
Right.
sure.
That's what I mean. It
But
has
how
to-
do
it
you,
has to
but
be
how do
like
you bring that
Stevenson.
money that's in the Portland area out into the gorge? If the money's available, what's keeping them from moving out here to the gorge to invest their money here?
Oh, I'm talking
the-
about the city. The city has more money
The
to
city.
offer
Oh, yeah,
negotiations
sure.
with
Mhm.
builders, yeah. That's what I was referring to.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
so we'll get, ask Liana
Yeah,
to set up a doodle poll.
Doodle.
I will also ask her to send out, see if there's any kind of like agenda or packets or anything from previous years,
mhm.
so that you can go, yeah, let's talk about that one again.
Mhm.
And what about maybe inviting too, like, Columbia Housing Authority? To see what kind of programs they might offer to communities or what we could expect. How do we, yeah. So get both sides of the coin. So a Robert and a housing authority would be
Mhm.
probably good providers of information of two different sides of the coin.
Where do you normally do the retreat?
A couple of years ago, it was down at Eggwald. It's good to get out of here.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And
And then
we
the
did it
last
on
time
Zoom.
we had it Zoom.
Mhm.
But there was one, I think we've had it 3 years. So there's
Oh,
one
and we
before
did-
that Amy started it.
We did one down at the cabins. I didn't like one, that was good. That one was good.
Because you don't like the cabins.
No, there wasn't a table. We're
Oh,
all
that's
just
hard.
sitting around,
Yeah.
just like. I'm just like, okay.
No, we're-
The layout wasn't.
Not ideal.
Right.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
6:18, please get started.